What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week and review them. Specifically comic books. I just want to be clear up front.
Yes.
It's not novels.
Thank you.
We didn't read a bunch of novels this week, all right?
And we're not reviewing, like, cars. We're not reviewing meals. We're not reviewing each other's fashion choices. But I do have a lot to say.
I have some tips. I have some notes. And also, I have Predator versus Spider-Man. #1 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Marcelo Ferreira. This is the third series in the Predator versus series of series written by Benjamin Percy. We've already seen the Predator take on Wolverine and Black Panther. Now he's headed to New York City to take on the web-slinger himself. And it is pretty gross, and I can't believe this was not a Red Band title.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Skinless bodies and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and also there's just, for a Predator versus book, there's a lot of other factors in this comic that I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening? The Skinner, as he's known, is not a Predator?
Well, so the idea here, which they haven't really established, but they did establish in the synopsis, which I believe is canon, is Skinner is a rogue predator who likes to skin his prey. And to be clear, I like this book, and I like the very gritty streets on fire 70s New York style thing that Benjamin Percy is leading into here. That's very much what it is, down to a blackout in the summer in New York City, and there's a killer on the loose on the streets. So I think that's a really fun place to be. I don't know how well Spider-Man fits into this, because there are also skinless bodies hanging from the ceiling, and Mary Jane is in trouble on a subway train. But at the same time, the place we end up in, the villain, who is not too much of a surprise, but it's still a fun place to take the book. So,
well, I agree with you. I really like the way that New York is established in this, and the heat and everything. I do, and the Mary Jane part is slight spoiler. That's where we're headed next issue. But I like the way that was set up. That feels very much in line with a Spider-Man book. But Spider-Man's pretty casual about finding a bunch of skinless bodies. Yeah. He's like, hey, I found another bunch of skinless bodies. Whoops. And that's like finding a cockroach sort of in your apartment, the way he treats it. So that was interesting. And Spidey and Predator is a little bit like your chocolate and peanut butter, where I'm like, I don't know if these flavors mix for everyone.
Chocolate and peanut butter go great together. I was with you right up until you made that stupid point at the end. Chocolate and peanut butter. I agree with what you're trying to say.
Sorry, Pete, can we just save opinions on that until our next book, which is Chocolate versus Peanut Butter #1? So just
I apologize.
Put it on that.
But you want to bring them together in an almost sexual union, you're saying.
But I agree with what you're saying.
Chocolate and peanut butter. About chocolate and peanut butter, you agree.
When you see the kind of hardcoreness that is the Predator, you don't think of Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Spider-Man's a little bit more quippy, a little bit more light and fun. So yeah, this is interesting kind of smashing of two worlds. I'm interested to see where this goes. I like the setup of this. I also think that later, when they're kind of teasing different verses, which I think makes more sense in the Spider-Man world, I'm very excited for that and to see what's going to happen there. That seems really cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everything about this book works except for Spider-Man. Yeah. And it feels like a natural fit to be of course, let's take our marquee character and pit him against the Predator. But since they announced this, every single time I've heard about it, I'm so Spider-Man's going to die, right? There's no way that Spider-Man makes us out of this. And it could have worked. While you guys were talking, I was trying to think, has Spider-Man been in situations? The closest is the Sin Eater storyline, which was same sort of thing without Predator being an alien, but it was streets of New York. It was very lone vigilante killing people is a villain, not like the Punisher, Pete, or anything. But that wasn't violent in the same way that this is, where, like you're saying, there's a casualness to it, where Spider-Man doesn't seem affected by finding multiple skinless bodies, to the point where he's like, J. Jonah Jameson, you know how you and I work at a newspaper alone? Let's print some newspapers.
Well, and what do you think? Because the power goes out in New York, and they take the papers back to the streets. They're pull on their newsboy caps. Would we, in a Predator blackout situation, be willing to take our podcast to a print edition?
100%.
Yeah.
No, dude,
I always, after we're done
publish
here,
it.
I have stacks of our podcasts in the basement here with me.
Dude, in a Predator situation, I'm going dark, and you won't see me again unless you look to the trees, my friend.
That's where the Predators are, Pete.
Dude,
the Predators are the trees, famously. Dude, you're hunting them?
That's right.
You're hunting the Predators?
I'm flipping it. I've read too many, bro. The only way to survive a Predator attack is to hunt, to turn the fight down.
I'll tell you what, that is a great idea for a Predator movie, is a bunch of people who've seen Predator movies being like, I can handle this.
I got this. Yeah.
And they don't.
Yes. And if there's one the takeaway from seeing a Predator movie is like, I'm pretty sure I can kill one of these guys. No problem. Let me ask you, Pete, what's your weapon of choice that you think would combat the invisible Predator that hunts with 9 different weapons, including Wolverine claws?
Yeah, I mean, you got to go with something that is reliable. You know what I mean? Something that's not going to run out of bullets.
Do tell.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's going to be tough.
Well, but what's that for you?
I mean, we saw where Schwarzenegger started doing well when he went on like Ewok Adventures, where he fell into, trying to get traps and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you gotta kind of work your environment.
Wait. So you're gonna go to the trees and create a series of Ewok style traps for the Predators.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then later I'll be playing the skull like a drum. You know what I mean?
Can I say,
You're
like, this is
it.
slagging you off at all, Pete, but in terms of, like, the whole setting the traps and hiding the trees and things, the place where I feel like your plan falls apart is you being able to get into a tree.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And maybe get in, but move about a tree is where I'm a little concerned.
You think Pete could shimmy his way up a tree? I'm not 100%.
I think Pete could get into a tree. It's trying to be like, Pete, quick. He's like, smash, thud.
Well, Pete might not have a chance, but hopefully Spider-Man does. Why don't we move on and talk about Superman number 25 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Dan Mora, Eddy Barrows, Eber Ferreira, and Jamal Campbell. This is a big issue that brings back the evil Lex Luthor, kind of. Specifically, it is a clone version with Kryptonian powers, kind of, named XL, which is Lex.
XL?
Yes. But XE-L, so that it's Lex reversed. You guys get it. Anyway, and it's a big battle between XL, Superman, Superwoman, who is Lois Lane, and the good Lex Luthor, who has a beard, leading to a big status quo shift that I thought was great. I thought this title is so good. I'm definitely in the tank for it. But I thought they took the expectation here that Lex is eventually going to turn evil and really found it in to give us that and give us that satisfying, of course, this is going to happen in a new and different way that I was very happy about.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really enjoyed this. I feel like Joshua Williamson has been remixing a lot of the Superman elements and bringing us like new flavors of it, that while being true to everything that happens. I really like the way that Mercy was played in this, the Lex, the XL character, all of that was really well done. I was surprised how bummed I was by the reveal on the last page.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
like legitimately disappointed in. I won't say it, but like the status quo is strange. It's different than what's been happening for a long time. And I want to stay in it longer, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I was surprised that this was the end of it. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm surprised we didn't get more out of this. But yeah, action-packed-ish, great art and action. Things are starting to get kind of crazy here. But yeah, enjoyed it.
I will also say, usually it's a red flag for me when you see 4 artists on a title, but I really think it worked here, the way that Joshua Williamson plotted it out so that everybody had their own little section without breaking into chapters. There was a great flashback, a couple of pages that were mostly in black and white that I thought were very cool.
Yes.
So really good issue, and very interested to see what happens next. G.I. Joe #6 from Skybound and Image Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Reilly. This is the end of the first arc in a big way as Duke and Cobra Commander face down with each other, and we get some big revelations and changes of the status quo. Pete, were you, and this is just to throw this out there, did it bring you back to your childhood, and were you in a nostalgia bath with this comic?
Yeah, it was like I got to sit next to my childhood, and we read comics together, and we both had an amazing time.
Were you both in the nostalgia bath at the same time?
No,
just putting bubbles on each other and stuff?
You're making it sound weird. Yeah.
Did you tell your child version of yourself like what sex was? Did you have the time?
No, I didn't. It's not my job.
That would have been a good idea.
I'm not trying to ruin my childhood.
Did you warn your child self about the whole tree thing, or are you going to let him find out by himself?
No, I'm going to talk to him about.
Is that where you got the idea that you could beat a predator from a child version of yourself? Because that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I thought this was just unbelievable art and action. Great last panel. This is just an absolute blast. The Duke versus Cobra Commander stuff was really cool. Yeah, I mean, you love a classic kind of monologue from a villain, talking about his plans or how we're so alike, you and me. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
By the way, I'm sorry,
great.
I did not realize I put Joshua Williamson back to back.
It's the Williamson block.
It is. Yes.
That's fun. I mean, I also like this. I have been enjoying this, all of the G.I. Joe books, and it's the corner of the Energon universe that I think is working. But I will say, how do we feel about the constant... It felt special when we were like, whoa, a Transformer in this book. And now they're like, yeah, the Transformers are fucking everywhere. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Transformer in this universe these days. Pete, I know you're a super fan. Is there a monotony to that? Do you feel like you want to let them cook a little bit separately and then?
No, I felt like it's really kind of coming together nicely here, especially in this issue with the different kind of reveals we get. Yeah, I'm loving the way because they've been teasing it for a while, this Energon universe, this overlap. So I feel like we're finally starting.
That's my thing is I feel like it's beyond tease. It's constant. It's a constant tease. It's like a poke.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're poking the bear, and the bear's like, hee, this is fun.
Oh, the bear's happy with the poke. Yeah. It's a tickle.
Yeah,
Tease turned into a tickle.
I agree with you. It was a weird sort of bummer when a Transformer showed up, spoiler, in this issue, because I did like the rest of it. Like Pete's saying, I thought the showdown with Cobra Commander and Duke was really fun. Very cool. Well staged by Tom Reilly throughout here. I did think it was very funny when we got a thing from Destro, the classic, like, we just lost this and this and this. And Cobra Commander's like, no, this is how we actually won, was by losing everything. I'm like, no, actually you lost. That's all right.
Yeah, it's Cobra Commander's whole deal, dude.
I know. He loves you can admit to it. It's okay. Like, admit your mistakes and then move on and improve on them. But
oh yeah, and you're the therapist for a lot of the Cobra guys, right, Alex?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it's under their health plan, which of course is Cobra.
Bummer. Expensive. I think they could get some direct coverage.
Yeah, nope, not through Cobra. That's why it's a terrorist organization. It's terrorizing your wallet. The big thing I was struck by, though, at the end with the Transformers showing up and colliding it here is like, this point we're 6 months away, right, from G.I. Joe versus Transformers. They're probably going to announce that at San Diego Comic-Con, I assume. And in October, when we get our Absolute Universe event and our Ultimate Universe event, we're also going to get an Energon Universe event, and it's just going to be a packed house. That's my guess.
You think that's just going to be G.I. Joe's riding around in Transformers?
Probably. You're going to see Duke riding an Optimus Prime. Absolutely.
Oh, man, that would be
See?
Cool.
I don't care, but Pete does, and the fans.
It generally makes you happy, right? And that's your childhood talking, right?
That's right.
That's great.
Is your childhood also in charge of?
Do you take a day, by the way, Pete?
How much what?
How many nostalgia baths do you take a day? Like, are you getting all wrinkly and pruny?
Well, I mean, we read a lot of comics, so there's a bunch of baths.
There's a bunch of bads. Is your childhood in charge of what you eat on a day-to-day basis? Because that would explain
sometimes, yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Oh, you
All right,
sound
why don't
sad.
we move on and
Trouble,
talk
yeah.
about your adulthood
real
with
issue.
Blade Forger #2 from Bad's Cave Studios, written by Inaki Miranda and Roy Miranda, art by Inaki Miranda. I was very bowled over by this first issue of this book that is set in a fantasy world that's all about being the best fighter ever, but that was not what it was actually leading up to. We got a jump forward in time where the guy we were following for the first half of the issue turns out to be the emperor of the world, much older, and he has completely failed in every aspect, but it turns out what he's actually been doing is hiding a daughter the entire time. So a bunch of great, very emotionally driven twists that happened towards the second half of the issue. How do you feel it followed up in issue 2?
First off, fun cover. This is just a good time right here. But yeah, I'm having
Do you
a
want to
black.
describe it, or
No, it's pretty.
for our audio podcast?
Pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. A girl
Yeah.
is riding a giant, adorable bear. I mean,
It's a red panda, but sure, yeah.
Okay.
It's funny to be like, it's straightforward. You get it. It's
Pretty
a girl
straightforward.
riding a red panda with a sword.
Classic.
Classic.
Classic classic first image.
Yeah, I think that this is a lot of fun. I love all the action, love the ending, making some big choices, and I'm having a blast with this. I continue to enjoy this. This is a great comic.
I love the time jumps can sometimes in some books be very jarring. They're so intentional, and it feels like the creators here like built the story around the idea that they wanted to sort of simultaneously build the mythology here across these time periods, if through the emotional spectrum sort of guiding it, the emotional push of the story. And that's great. All of the specifics of the story are sort of a Dune the movie level of complexity, where they're like, you might have to face down the monster, defeat it, and it can't show any fear, and that's how you get to your blade forger. Once you have the blade forger, then you can start forging the blade. It's like, oh, okay. But it's complicated, but it's working for me.
Mm-hmm. That was exactly my reaction to this, because I usually cannot get into that sort of thing at all when you just are like, I'm reading a D&D rules manual, but in comic book form. And it is that level of density, but it really works because the art is so good and clean. The monsters and creatures are fascinating. The fight scenes are great. And like you're saying, the way it jumps through things, there's one thing where it's like a montage of fight scenes on full page splashes on like, I think it was 4 or 5 subsequent pages. Just really cool.
Really cool.
We also don't lose the emotional intensity of the last one while we get more information about this father-daughter relationship. And there's some really quiet scenes as well. The scene that struck me the most in the book, there's one where the father, after he's emperor, is just at a long table, and there's like a jungle with monkeys behind him. And it would be very easy to have the same panel multiple times. Instead, the forest suddenly changes, the monkeys change position.
Yeah.
You're seeing the silhouettes of these people talking. It was really cool. So, great
Very
book.
cool. Agreed.
Yeah, it's a great
Really nice.
package, as Justin likes to say.
Smartly laid out.
Yes. Next up, One World Under Doom, #3 from Marvel, written by Ryan North, art by R.B. Silva. In this issue, the Avengers have teamed up with some of their greatest villains to take the fight directly to Doom, with a big twist by the end here. We've been a little iffy, can I say, about the series and event as a whole. Some things more into than others. But how did this issue strike you?
Well, I feel like later in the stack, there's other better kind of like One World Under Doom stuff.
Interesting.
But I do think that this is very cool, and it's kind of got some fun twists and turns. I'm a fan of the kind of villain reveal that happens here, so I don't know. I feel like this is cool, but I don't know. I also felt like a little like I want a little bit more, you know?
Well, I think maybe the feeling you're having is what I was having, Pete, which is like this book is in conflict with another book from a storytelling perspective later on in the stack. And I was like, I liked both this book and spoiler for my review, but I liked the other one too. But I'm like, oh, I wish they came out at different times or something, because they just they're just too close to each other in what's happening, yet telling completely different stories. Really love the art in this. Ryan North is great as a writer. RB Silva really making the story feel big. I really connected with Mo. There's a close up of MODOK in here. I was like, he is a man. He's a human.
That was weird. I'm sorry. I know weird. Exactly what you're talking about. It's like, I have a normal human face. It looked like, do you remember the French animated movie Triplets of Belleville?
Yeah, wow. Deep pull from our guy Alex, but yes.
What? It looked like one of those characters was stuck inside MODOK, and it took me completely out of it.
It was just very weird to see. He looked like a grandfather. I was like, that's not what he is. He's a goof in a big plate. So the other thing about just one last thing. The other thing is again, Arcade is elevated in this, and I'm like, he's not this villain you could just bring to a party and be like, be crazy. It's like his whole thing is planning a bunch of stuff and then tricking someone to going there. He can't just show up and be like, I'm fun. Here's a trick. Yeah.
I would have loved if they brought Arcade along. They're like, our whole plan is to attack the Doom Dome that is around Latveria. And meanwhile, they're like, where's Arcade? And they cut to Arcade, and he's like, okay, so here's my plans for my new murder world that we're going to use. And it takes him several months to build a bunch of death traps, and they never get to him. Because you're saying, it doesn't really make much sense. The mix of villains is weird. The fact that everybody's cool with it is weird as well. Every single character that they bring in who's a bad guy, it feels like there is a good guy that is definitely a sub that could provide exactly the same thing out there. So that's a little frustrating. The thing that I've been frustrated with this title and this event all along is the weird, confusing politics of it. And they get to a point that I think is interesting here, but doesn't fit still with everything that's come before, which, to spoil it, is, I think I sort of assumed as a reader, but then they said out loud, we find out that Doom hasn't manipulated the world leaders. He's just offered them stuff, and it was basic human greed or whatever that they were like.
He played politics.
Yeah, he played politics, and the Avengers are like, "Whoa, politics? What?" And then they kind of have to back off from there and get played some more, and it's like, oh, all right, I understand what you're saying about basic human nature and stuff, but still, where does that leave our heroes? Where does that leave Doom's policies? It's just a confusing mix of stuff, because I like the idea of playing on human nature. We brought the worst person possible to lead the entire world, but what he's doing is still not bad. And are the Avengers going to be like, all right, I guess we got to talk to some grassroots organizers over in Brooklyn and start making some phone calls, start phone banking,
flyering and calling and getting out there, shaking hands, kissing babies.
Well, I like the idea, like you're saying, Alex, I like the idea of no, Doom is actually playing by the rules. He's not being a villain here. He's using his power to he's doing it by the book purposefully to upset the power dynamic that he has versus the heroes, because he knows they can't fight him if he is literally just being right or being on the up and up. But the problem with that from a storytelling perspective is I think we're ahead of them, our heroes, and they're being extremely naive. I'm like, he's playing you. Every issue of this comic and the Fantastic Four stuff that's been happening, I'm like, he's playing you. You think he's a villain, but the story is telling us he's not here. Mm-hmm. So they're going to need to find another way to operate. And I think we need to get there so that we can start to enjoy and be surprised by the story again and back our heroes. Because right now, Doom is winning. It's like we talked about in our reviews of the Daredevil show, where, especially in the final episode of that, and I won't spoil anything except that Kingpin becomes the protagonist. And I'm like, this is a different thing. And in this book, Doom is the protagonist. He's the one who's making moves and deciding what battlefield they're on.
Well, which is also why the end doesn't track for me. To talk about it, I know Pete didn't mention what it is, but they've talked about it in solicits. Dormammu attacks Earth. Like, Dormammu finds out, Doom has been so busy with everything else, he hasn't set up the protection spells and hasn't been maintaining them, so finally this is his time to do the thing he could never do when Doctor Strange was around. And that doesn't make any sense with anything that we've learned about Doom over his entire history of so long.
But
even as he's been Sorcerer Supreme, it doesn't even really make any sense, because his whole thing was like, I went under a dome for several months to plan everything and be not just the best leader of Earth, but the best Sorcerer Supreme, and be a better Sorcerer Supreme than Doctor Strange.
So that makes you think it's all part of his plan, that it's a trap.
For Dormammu?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Could be.
Interesting.
Right.
A Dormammu
Fair
chap.
enough. So he's kind of like shimmying up a tree to wait for Dormammu to come.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, classic.
It's hard to shimmy up, let me also say.
Oh, man.
Very difficult.
It's all core strength, dude.
Pete, send us a video of you climbing a tree just so we can really make sure that you're in the right
Does it
shape
got to
do
be clear that it's me doing it?
Yes, and
yes.
also it needs to be
definitely.
It needs to be a real tree, not at the McDonald's play place.
Oh, man, this is going to be tough. This keeps getting harder to make.
Pete, the Predators are coming. I know for a fact. You need to be ready. You need to be ready, because I'm coming to you if I'm invited to your house to out like COVID.
You were invited for
Predators.
everything, but now I'm thinking for Predators, you're not invited.
You don't want me there for Predators? Why?
Well, Predators might not be coming, but Aliens definitely are, because we're going to be talking about Absolute Martian Manhunter #2 from DC Comics, written by Deniz Camp, art by Javier Rodríguez. Last issue, we were introduced to Detective John Jones, who is seeing some very strange things. That becomes all too clear in this issue, what he is actually seeing, though why it is happening, we don't necessarily know. We also finally get a villain in this issue. After an issue and a half! Come on! This comic is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and I loved every page. But it's not my favorite Deniz Camp issue of
What?
Whoo, Alex, bring some heat.
Justin, get
This is the most hyped comic on the stands amongst anyone I talk to about comics.
That's
They're
right.
Like Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter is the comic. And yet, this comic does live up to the hype. In these first two issues especially. The panels, just artistically, there's so many great surprises in the art that Javier Rodríguez is just crushing it. It's joyful, it's surprising what's happening. The story's engrossing. We know a little bit about what's happening, but it's not being explicitly said. Deniz Camp is a writer I've been in the camp for quite some time, and it's very exciting to have him be sort of hitting a pinnacle right when he is. So
yeah, because
fully on board
you've been
with
running this camp for years, and people are like, I don't know, but now it's really taken off.
Well, and I think summer camp's going to be really fun. We're going to have our Martian Manhunter workshops. We're going to try to influence each other's brains.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
That's what you're going to love it, Pete. We're going to do some Ultimate Avengers stuff.
I'm going to bring
You're
my
probably going to light
hat.
a campfire outside, and there's going to be smoke coming off of it, just like they talk about a lot in this comic book.
Yeah,
that's
exactly
true.
Right, Alex. Alex, you want to be a camp counselor?
I'd love to.
I thought
I didn't want to ask, but I appreciate the offer.
I thought this was continues to be artistically impressive. Really cool cover, as you can see here. But
unless you're listening on the audio podcast.
Yeah. Well, then you can't see here, and I wouldn't be talking to them. So thanks. But yeah, the art is the real hero here. It's nice to see John Constantine popping up all over the place. We don't release
separate audio for the YouTube version and the audio podcast version. It's all the same thing.
Right, but clearly if they were watching, I would be talking to them because they could see it there. And if they're listening, I would be talking to them because they can't.
That's confusing. What Pete thinks is confusing to me.
Anyways, I just think that this is really cool. I mean, the last panel was unbelievable. And this is living up to the hype. And man, it's just super creative and really artistically impressive.
Well, what about Spawn, #1 from Image Comics, written by Rory McConville, art by Marco Itri. This follows a large armored Spawn who is in medieval times, and over to Pete.
Yeah, so this, thank you very much. Well, this is interesting because Spawn, medieval Spawn is interesting because they used to have a Dark Ages Spawn, which was my favorite Spawn of all time. I even got a fan letter in the letters page of the comic. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, cool. It's like the thing that I love, but it's not. It is a little bit different. I don't know why they wouldn't just bring back Spawn the Dark Ages, but they were like, hey, maybe this will make fans mad, or maybe they will trigger something that they will love.
What's not making people mad? Why?
Do you think they'll keep progressing forward in time, though, and eventually we'll get, like, Renaissance Spawn?
Ooh, now that's...
Get a paintbrush into this guy's hand.
Some... classically trained Spawn, you know what I mean? Like, we'll get some.
I want to see a Spawn paint some great still lifes. Like, what's his take on a pair?
Retired Spawn? You know what I mean?
The Enlightenment Spawn? I'd be into that.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah. I mean,
what about Jurassic Spawn?
Ooh, yeah.
Now you're actually pitching something that Todd McFarlane would.
I would love all of these. I love all these. But what I'm wondering is, oh man, Dark Ages was so cool. Like, why wouldn't you just kind of keep doing that? But maybe you can.
Move past. That's literally in the past.
I can't.
This is a different Spawn.
Why would you make something that was so close to something that I love, but then make it different? Like, why wouldn't you just bring back the thing?
Oh, sorry, Pete. That's literally comics in every aspect you're describing.
You're so right.
Have you ever heard of Carnage? Right next to your Venom.
It's like you were trying to get into your nostalgia bath, and then it was like a different flavor of bath bomb. And
you're like, what?
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're like, but I used to have the same bath bomb the whole time. So this was kind of, this was cool. I'm trying to get over the fact that it's not Dark Ages. I'm having a hard time.
You're not succeeding.
But
I'm trying to
this was cool as well.
Rory McConville listening, being like, "Oh, somebody reviewed my new comic book. Let me check this out."
Well, here, let me jump in there because I'm not the biggest Spawn head.
Jump in the nostalgia bath.
I thought this was great. Pete, I'm starting to think the nostalgia bath is a trap the predators are laying to cook you like a soup.
Oh man.
I think you got to be careful. If you see a couple carrots in your nostalgia bath, you're cooked. You're being cooked, my friend. You're a stew. You're Pete stew. As I was saying, this medieval Spawn, I enjoyed this book. I thought this was good. It has a nice amount of dread hanging over the story. It's getting us into the Spawn world without nearly as much angst as a lot of the other Spawn books do, and I appreciate that. I think we're actually getting to fly in the face of Pete Stew over here. We're getting a different flavor of Spawn, and I'm like, good. We have so much variety in these titles. Let's have more variety in the story in these titles. And this is giving that. I enjoyed this.
If there was a modern Spawn, like one who was on TikTok, who was like influencer Spawn, do you think they'd do SpawnCon?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Thanks.
Not Spawn promoting McFarlane toys on TikTok.
Well, anyway, let's move on. Talk about Spawn Arcana Royale #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Cullen Bunn, art by AC Zamudio. This is about a poker ace who gets drafted into a mystical, demonic poker game. Pete, you're wondering if we can play you in.
Yes, I'm also wondering, guys, do you see this really fucking cool cover next to us? I apologize for people who are just listening at home, but man, this is a great cover.
I'm just sort of off the top of my head now, but maybe a way around this is you could be like, I love this cover. It has this really cool demon with long horns and bells hanging off of it, playing cards on the table. It's really awesome.
Yeah,
we got go bells.
You did a shitty job describing it, but yeah, I see what you're trying to say. Try to paint a picture for them, you know what I mean? Instead of just excluding them, try to include them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is really great. Yeah. Really great. Learning on the job learning happening here. Really good stuff.
I often think about this as a teaching podcast.
Oh, cool.
Do you remember that part?
Saying like a really cool goat is you're not getting the fact that it's like this it's this kind of like cool goat. You know, it's got like a nice suit on. It's kind of a badass goat. You know what I mean?
Now we've opened up a can of Pete talking about this shit.
Yeah,
Do you remember in the War of the Worlds? Do you remember War of the Worlds when H.G. Wells took a second and been like, should I describe what's happening in this? Or just like, or just say it? Or like, what's the deal? Then the producer was like, hey, why don't you give it a shot and describe what's happening so that people can take it there? And everyone thought it was real after
That's
that.
right.
It's true.
H.G.
The week
Wells.
before they broadcasted it, it was just a big like, whoa, what? Oh, my God.
Holy shit. Zap, 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 zap.
Oh, no.
But I love the twists and turns in
This is
this.
scary.
Similar to the twists and
what?
turns in this guy's horns. I think that this is very cool, very artistic, very well done. Love the main character. This is just awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the pitch of this book with like tarot cards meets playing cards and it's poker is great, and then it's paid off really well. Great characters, great art. I also really enjoyed this.
Next up, The Avengers, number 25 from Marvel, written by Jed McKay, art by Valerio Schiti. This book also ties into One World Under Doom. Curious if this is the one you guys were talking about, as the Masters of
yes.
Evil reform with new membership and decide to attack the Immortal City, the home base of the Avengers. And it leads to what I like to call a die-hard situation.
Oh, is that what you call it?
With Sam Wilson, I was about to say Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson and what is left of the Impossible City working together to take down the Masters of Evil. It is also a very clear riff on maybe my favorite Avengers story of all time, Under Siege, which I don't know if you guys remember that one, which is about the Masters of Evil breaking into Avengers Mansion and basically winning.
I remember the Siege comic. I don't remember.
No, not Siege. Under Siege was like from the 80s, and it's so intense, or at least I remember it being so intense, because it was like Masters of Evil, led by Baron Zemo, come in, beat the shit out of the Avengers, beat up Jarvis and torture him, and are like, well, the mansion is ours now. And then it's up to the Avengers to try to break back in and stop them. I think there's like Captain America alone at one point. It happened over multiple issues. And I just remember at the time reading this, I was like, this is the most intense thing I have ever read in my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it holds up. I have not read it in years, but this is very clearly inspired by that.
Yes, I agree with you there. And I really enjoyed this. This is the book I was talking about. Yeah. And it's not that they're like... it's the same exact story, but like I was saying in our earlier review, like it's just like another a bunch of supervillains are dealing with the Avengers and doing their thing. And it just feels like it's just the railroad tracks are a little too close together. But I love the diehard aspect here. Sam Wilson feeling like he is not good enough to be an Avenger because he's just quote unquote a regular guy. And we get him really powering up here. I love that they've spread it over a couple issues. It's not just a one-off. And shouts to my guys, the Ashen Combine, popping off in this comic. Let's go! Yes. They are my number one team, the Ashen Combine, a name that will be tattooed on my lower back eventually.
Oh, wow. Fun. I'm sure you're...
Ashen Combine tramp stamp. Put those 4 words together.
Can't wait for you to try to explain that away to your wife. Anyways, this is just great. Starts off really awesome here. Amazing art. She gets weird, though, with old Cap there.
Madcap.
It gets a little madcappy. And,
I love
it. Decapitating. You know what I mean? That gets a little crazy. But, then everybody talks about how much they love New York City and planning to go there. I was like, dude, me too. See you there this weekend.
Well, they're going to flatten it, so that's not great. Why don't we move on and talk about Harley Quinn, number 50 from DC Comics, written by Elliot Kalin, art by Mirka Andolfo. You know, we haven't been reading this book very regularly, but it is a 50th issue, so I thought it was worth checking it out. Here, Harley is dealing with, per the cover of the issue, her brain, who has gone rogue and is forcing her to try to be a normal, helpful member of society at exactly the wrong time. I really like this idea for Harley. I think it's interesting to explore that. You get some new villains, the gun buddies, that I think are fun as well.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more of an anniversary issue with this.
Agreed.
It's just middle of the run and having fun.
Hey,
Yeah,
nice.
Middle of the run, having fun. Shouts to our guy, Elliot Kalin, who's been on the show a fair number of times. Fun dude we know from New York. This, I agree with you. Like, I thought this was going to be more of an anniversary thing, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was just like a good story, and it feels like it's letting Harley's main title be just weirder and more interesting. This is a character I think we can agree is maybe a little overexposed in general. And so, like, in the main book, it's really nice to have the stories be bigger and stranger than you would expect.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you guys that this is a fun issue. Love the art style. I also, one of the things about Harley that isn't explored as much is her brain and the fact that, she is smart. We get the kind of like fun Harley a lot, but yeah, this is a cool idea and I think funly executed. And Alex, stop reading my notes ahead of time. I have right down here, gun buddies are fun villains.
We both wanted to mention a major part of the comic book. I also, bouncing off of what you said, Mirka Andolfo, I think, is a great fit art-wise for this book. So I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Bug Wars, number 3 from Image Comics, written by Jason Aaron, art by Mahmoud Asrar. This is the first... No, actually, that's not true. But we talked to Jason Aaron and Mahmoud Asrar about the first issue in depth. We are following a kid named Slade Slaymaker, who has discovered a whole Game of Thrones...
The son of the Jim, I believe.
The son of the Jim. He has discovered a whole Game of Thrones style Lord of the Rings sort of situation happening in his own backyard with a bunch of bug people and mystics. He's been thrown into a gladiatorial arena, and this issue we see whether he's going to get his way out of it as we continue to expand and grow this world. What do you guys think about this?
Hey, do either you guys have a secret amulet on your chest that you've never brought up until now?
It's the only way I can podcast, bro.
Oh, wow.
Both of you
do? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, you actually do.
Wow.
What is that?
This is my daughter's made a little potion. They've been making potions, and this one is the formula for creativity. And they gave it to me, and I wear it around. It's very cute.
Oh, wow.
I can't, honestly, it's a little plastic. It's a very loose string with a little plastic jug full of water and sparkles.
Well, it's not water.
I can't believe it's lasted.
Creativity in liquid form, obviously.
Yeah, you mean vodka. But it's lasted for months now, and I am shocked. It's still around my neck.
Wow, I'm so glad
yes,
I asked
do
that.
have magic. Yeah.
What a reveal. Justin's been magic this whole time.
Yeah, see if anything else comes up in these comics.
You talk about me having secret quizzes and stuff like that. You've had secret potions on you for years. This is unbelievable.
You wouldn't believe the bugs I'm crawling with. There's a lot of bug wars happening on my body right now, just like in this comic.
That's gross.
I am really enjoying this comic. When we talked to Jason and Mahmoud, they were their hype on being in this world is so strong. You can feel in the reading of it, their palpable interest in deepening the mythology, and they go hard, but it's still done with a light touch that feels almost like an 80s fantasy movie or something. Like, you get to dip in, it doesn't feel too dense. Like we were talking about earlier, how some books can have this is so much information at once. This walks you in a great way. The action is awesome. The characters are fun, and we're getting to explore this in a nice pace. Yeah,
it's a little bit more hardcore. I mean, we want to give a warning here. Don't read this one in public. It's got some spicy stuff.
You talking about bug boobs?
Yeah, I'm talking about
the bug boobs.
Right. Yeah, I'm talking about it.
Then use the term bug boobs, I think, be clear with what you're talking about.
But this continues to be great. Love the art, love the action. This is such a fun idea. I mean, if you had to, go out in your backyard and fight your way back type of situation, everybody be pissed at you for all the ants that you've killed in your home. You know what I mean? So this is real in many kind of interesting ways.
This is real?
Yeah, this is real life, man. If you got struck down, this is what would happen. but also it's funny the spiders and the way they're kind of like gossipy a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, yeah.
When you kill an ant, I think the way around this, especially with Pete saying it's so real, is to have a little ant funeral every time you kill one.
Well, I try to be as respectful as I can. You know what I mean? It's tough.
In what way? In what way are you
I like to
respectful?
have a small moment. You know what I mean? I can't have a whole funeral, but you gotta have a little.
You have a quiet moment for each ant you kill.
Yeah.
How many you kill at a time? Like 20, 25?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Honestly, 50% of Pete's time is taken up with ant funerals.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a lot of time.
But if you are having any sort of bug funeral after perhaps a bug war, please contact Pete. He's happy to come in and handle a lot of the mourning process, the grief.
Yeah, about how many bug cremations do you do in a day, Pete?
Well, that's the thing. You got to talk to the family. Do you want to do cremation? I got a nice little cardboard set up if they want to get a burial thing. You know what I mean? So,
and particularly with ants, it's hard to make decisions when you in a family of 1 billion.
That's really good.
Wow.
Really good. Definitely a movie everyone wants to hear a reference to.
Wow.
Probably
A movie and an impression that people are like, yes, yum yum. Give me more Woody Allen ants.
That's good. That's not very bad what you just did. Blackhammer, Spiral City, #5 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Teddy Christensen. This issue, as usual, a lot of things are going on in Spiral City, but mostly Inspector Insector is not sure he wants to be a detective anymore, and it's making me very sad.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, that's heartbreaking. And Inspector Insector was my favorite thing, I mean, but this is still great. I really love the art. I love this kind of like tone, this mood that this comic has. It's a whole vibe and it's enjoyable. It's great seeing the Inspector, but I'm sad about his life choices. But I believe he's going to turn it around.
Yeah, he's starting a new case of who killed these 50 ants in York, Pennsylvania. So watch your ass, LePage. I like this book. I mean, Jeff Lemire, I feel like he just digs into this, like the mainstream comic tropes, and he's so far down the spiral of exploring them that he's got a character where we're examining the pathos of Concrete Stador. Which is like I love that extension and still pushing through these weird ideas. No one else does it like this comic does, so I'm happy to be along for this ride for as long as Blackhammer wants to keep going.
Hell yeah, dude.
The Amazing Spider-Man, #2 from Marvel, written by Joe Kelly, art by Pepe Larraz. And before we even get into it, I just want to describe the cover here really quick. It is Spider-Man swinging and showing his crotch, which I don't know if they've ever put on a cover before, so I was pretty excited to see.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't want to talk about the jizz web at all.
Jizz web and his backwards butt here, it looks like.
I was just like, when you started setting this up, I was like, oh, he's definitely going to talk about the jizz web. And then the fact that you did not was just shocking.
No, I don't know how Spider-Man swings like that. That's all. It's just his weird position. Anyway, I do like this book, though. Yeah, I do like this book, though. Joe Kelly is writing a very interesting, very different Spider-Man here. In this issue, Peter Parker is losing time throughout his day, and the way that it's written and executed this issue I thought was so fascinating because it's as... Well, I'll speak for myself. It was as alarming and confusing for me as a reader as it is for Peter Parker. And as it is taking him a moment to catch up with, like, what's going on? I feel like I missed, like, he doesn't say I missed a page, but, like, that's what it feels like. You're experiencing the same thing as you're reading it. And that's a really interesting place to be in when you're reading a comic book.
It's unsettling, and especially this early, in issue 2, we get a little bit of an issue 1, but to have issue 2 be this, like, dense is the wrong word, but just be like an interesting format, and this like disjunctive breaks between his hallucinations and him like fracturing as a person and a hero, I thought was great, and I really like everything is scary. Like, he's in costume talking to his maybe girlfriend Shay, but pretending he's not. He's having a little bit of fun with like, are we dating, while at the same time like slipping in and out of his poisoned state. There's some perhaps obvious reveals of who may be doing it in the other sides of his life, but it's so unsettling reading it that only on rereading it was I like, oh, obviously I think I see who's doing this, but I didn't get it the first time because it's such a well-told story. So I'm really liking this. It feels different from a lot of Spider-Man runs, and even different from what Joe Kelly was just doing in his previous run with the Juggernaut Sidorak stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything that Justin just said there. I do think that, and Alex, and I do think the only thing that I don't...
And Alex, begrudgingly.
The only thing I didn't like about it was how amazing Shay is being with him right now when he's kind of like all drugged out, maybe going through some stuff. So I'm hoping for some turmoil between Shay and...
You're hoping for turmoil?
Yeah, I don't want this relationship to work. I'm not shipping it, and I don't want to be swayed, but I feel like this is when I'm going to start being swayed.
I still need to know more about her because I don't know anything about her as a character, but I do like this reverse Superman thing they seem to be setting up where she doesn't really seem to like Spider-Man at all, but she does like Peter. And I think that's neat. Like if they want to follow it, that's great, but give us a little something more about Shay.
I want an issue someday from some writer and artist team of like exploring what people think the relationship between Peter Parker and Spider-Man is, who don't know he's the same person, where he's like his friend. Because everyone talks about it like, it's not like, it's not a Jimmy Olsen thing where he knows him. It's like, you're friends with Spider-Man. You guys like hang out. You guys go get pizza together. I want a story that dials into what that idea is, because it's just a funny, unexplored area here.
Absolute Wonder Woman #7 from DC Comics, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Matea de Luis and Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah.
In the front story, we are getting the second part of Diana down in Hades. Here she is fighting a Tiger Man at the behest of Hades himself. We're dealing with that whole situation and coming to a surprising and awesome resolution. And then we get a couple of backup pages of a little Diana being raised in hell. Pete, you were pretty psyched about this one on the live show. Take it away.
Yeah, this is just another banger-ish, just amazing art, really cool story. Love the backup as well. This is just a blast. I loved all the twists and turns and kind of a cool twist on a classic tale here. This is just, it feels like they're having so much fun with this issue. It jumps out through the panels. This is just awesome comics right here.
This is so good. It's just this issue dealing with the famous short story, The Lady of the Tiger, and finding a new angle on it that feels resonant for Wonder Woman and Hecate, and the way that they all relate to each other, including the other gods. The mythological aspect is brought in here, and I don't know, This is just top tier. It's the best. I think it's the best comic on the stands right now from issue.
Wow. I was going to say definitely it's cemented as the best of the Absolute line, including, I mean, they're all really good, and Martian Manhunter is incredible, but like, this is just knocks it out of the park every single issue from every single aspect, including the emotional aspect. This is so well structured, this issue, from the first page to the last.
Yes.
It's just even though it's the second part of a two-parter, this still works as an individual issue, and I think that's the thing that's giving me such great joy with the Absolute line for the most part, is they are leaning into the single issue sales. I was spending a weird amount of time thinking about that this week, and I don't remember what book it was with specifically, but just like, as a simple comic book thing, it gives me a lot of joy to read a comic book and like, oh, that was a complete meal in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's weirdly too rare, particularly with the mainstream comics we read, where it's just like one wash of an ongoing story. And it might be a really good ongoing story, but reading something like this that like moves the characters forward, moves the situation forward, moves the plot forward, moves the whole world forward, but also exists in and of itself, I think is awesome. It's great.
It's great. I like you. I don't like my meals to have to be continued. You know, I like my meal to end.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to my favorite Dennis Cap issue of the week. Assorted Crisis Events #2 from Image Comics, written by Dennis Cap, art by Eric Zawadzki. And to be clear, when I say this, Absolute Martian Manhunter sucks, and this one is good. That's just like...
Yep. That's
what
Alex's
are you doing
take
right now?
You know me. No,
Also
I thought this
cool
was
cover.
phenomenal. Like we talked about with the first issue, that was a little more clearly time is broken. We're dealing with crisis events the way that you know them in comic books, but it was also felt very timely in terms of what we are experiencing in our world right now in a often upsetting way, but an important way. This focuses up in an entirely different way to tell the story of a man from birth to death, equating the human experience and particularly how we treat immigrants as meat and fodder. And that's it. And it goes hard. Like, as hard as Dennis Camp goes in some of the issues, the Ultimates, where he's really pushing on some societal issues, this feels like him unleashed here. And then you add in what Eric Zawadzki is doing on the art, where pages parallel each other, time periods parallel each other, things start to get more and more jumbled, but the story is clean throughout.
They literally bleed into each other.
Yeah, the repeating panels and images, just so cool.
Phenomenal issue, phenomenal comic book.
We go to bat a lot for a comic called Ice Cream Man, and it feels like Assorted Crisis Events is bringing that. The tone is different. It's not like Ice Cream Man does such a great job of being like dread horror, filtered through almost like a Black Mirror episode, filtered through like some classic American society. This feels a little bit more of the moment and topical in a way, and less like Americana dread and just like instantaneous crisis of life dread. And it's at that level, though, of storytelling and just top of the line writer and artist, like just synergy, and it's so good. I'm thinking of stop me if I've said this before, a Dennis Camp where I think we could really be fans, you know?
I just wanted to mention real quick about the Ice Cream Man thing. I had the exact same thought with this issue, and I think it was when the homeless guy showed up with the end is near sign. I was like, oh, he's kind of like the Ice Cream Man of this. But,
yeah,
you know, it's a little bit of connective fiber. 100% agree. Pete?
Which is good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say after all that, but I just... this is just like tripped out and intense, really impressive artistic choices, and also the color choices are just so impressive, and just some gruesome panels, man. But such a very cool comic throughout. It's just it's really impressive, and I'm at the camp. You know what I mean? I'm in the camp. I'm at the camp.
You're going camping?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
He's got his marshmallows and graham crackers. He's camping.
From the world of minor threats, welcome to Twilight #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Sue Lee. This is an anthology series showing us different parts of the world of minor threats. Here we're focusing on Playtime and a friend of hers that we haven't met before. The first issue of this was great by Matt Fraction and Mike Allred. How do you think the second issue held up?
Yeah,
good.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you know, we talked about Blackhammer being like such a great way to look at the tropes of superhero comics, and I feel like the Minor Threats universe is coming for that title as well. Just and more in through the street level versions of it, not coming in the archetypes, but coming up through these characters as people, very much in like the classic Marvel style, but in a much like Image and Dark Horse focused way, where we get to like follow these characters. It's a little bit funny. The tone shifts a little bit throughout the different books. This one gets to be a little bit more violent, I would say. Yeah, but all good. And it's funny to see Bendis just sort of dropping in here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this is really just a lot of different kind of cool things combined here. You got two friends trying to unite here, and great art with tons of bloody action. I mean, you know, that giant spike bat is really put to use here. But you love when people are famously killed by a giant like bat with barbed wire on it. No. We were just kind of talking about Glenn and how much that kind of crushed me earlier, but
but you love it here.
I do love it here because it's not Glenn, and we're on the right side here. This is all
Mm-hmm. And you used to love it when Daryl Strawberry did that.
Hey, shout out to the Strawberry. Here we go. Fun stuff.
Famously, at the end of every game, he would kill a Mets fan with a barbed wire bat.
That's why they had to come up with the Mr. Met costume, is to protect the fan. They had to have
Yep, exactly. You face Daryl Strawberry. That Negan motherfucker out here killing
rage. I have to get out my rage. The Mets keep losing.
Strawberry's the Negan of, oh my God.
Great Sue Lee art. This is totally different from her Maleficent series, which was also excellent.
Yes.
So,
that was also
Pete's
great.
fave.
Yeah, really different art style here, so that was fun to see.
Impressive.
Sorry, last thing before we move on. Pete, do you wish that Glenn was able to put on a Mr. Met hat in the moment in Walking Dead? Because he might have survived if he just slid on that Mr. Met hat.
What's nice is Glenn gets revenge in Invincible, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say what you mean, by the way?
you know, but you know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, he's gotten his revenge, but the Mets still have not gotten theirs. Why don't we move on and talk about Eddie Brock Carnage, number 3.
He doesn't even know sports, and that's a bird. That's impressive.
He doesn't know sports, but he knows the Mets can't win.
Written by Charles Soule.
They're doing well this year.
They are?
Sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Sure.
I am honestly, in all honesty, a fair weather Mets fan.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Sellout.
When I was a kid, I had a friend whose dad had season tickets to the Mets, so we used to go all the time, and that really sold me on them. So whenever they're winning, I tend to tune.
What about when the top hat came up for a home run? Were you ever there for that?
Of course I was there. Yes, absolutely. But the top hat did not come up. The apple came up, Pete.
Well, that's
the apple in the top hat. It was not a top hat rose over the apple.
Rose up and down. No, it was,
So the apple came out. Anyway,
I've never seen you two so connected as just it was really beautiful.
That's wonderful. We're connecting over something so stupid. Eddie Brock Carnage, number 3 from Marvel.
Yeah, like these comics we're talking about.
No, this is serious stuff. Art by Jesus Saiz. This is a serious comic about a guy who is a goop monster fighting a guy who eats bullets, okay?
Yeah.
This is real life. This is real life, man.
Because we all know in real life you eat the bullets, that's how you shoot them out.
I'll tell you what. Okay, so in this issue, Carnage, who is Eddie Brock per the title, is facing down with Bushwhacker, who has just killed a bunch of cops. Yeah. And halfway through the issue, he uses up his bullets. And my first thought is like, oh, yeah, what? I didn't realize he could run out of ammo. I thought it was just like his bones he was firing or something like that.
I thought it was all organic.
And then in my head, I was like, how does he get more? Does he eat the bullets? And then the next page, he's eating the bullets. And I was like, I guess so.
You thought?
I guess
does
so.
He eat bullets?
Like, as a funny thought for myself, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if he ate bullets? And then, in fact, that is, I guess, how he reloads.
And you're like, get out of my head, Charles Soule.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like someone who goes to an all-you-can-eat buffet, he overindulges on bullets.
Man. I love that. That was a great, gross thing when he's like, oh, I'm so big and full of bullets, and his teeth are pushing out of his mouth.
I agree with you. This was a great, body horror issue for both the Carnage, Eddie Brock side of it, but also the Bushwhacker. The Jesus Saiz art is so good. There are just moments of Bushwhacker's face, his insane, craven, eye-popping face over the course of this issue that are so good. And I'm really enjoying the way that Charles is writing the Eddie Carnage relationship. It's such a mismatch that they both seem to be enjoying torturing each other over. Eddie keeping Carnage from killing people. Carnage being like, I'm going to kill people. I promise you that. And there's a great reveal over the course of this issue that I thought was really smart and setting up for just a good long run of stories here.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool cameos. We get Misty Knight showing up and Muse. So a lot of cool stuff happening. But it's interesting that, in Daredevil we saw some head crushing, and then in this one you get a little head squeezing. It's funny how Marvel's really into head squeezing right now, you know?
They love kids in the
trend.
hall. I'm crushing your head.
Yeah.
There you go. Batman 159 from DC Comics, written by Jeff Loeb, art by Jim Lee. Hattush continues in this issue. Joker is almost dead, and Batman has to save him. But into the mix, per the cover, as you can see, comes a mystery figure. Who is it? It's Red Hood.
I was like, Batman's like, who is this mysterious figure in the Batcave trying to kill Joker? I was like, it's clearly the Red Hood. He's dressed as the Red Hood.
Jason,
he is the Red Hood
a bunch of times.
You know him well. He was famously your youthful ward here.
I was also like, Batman, for a detective, would you not see the cover, bro?
Well, he did. He actually was alerted to the cover, but it was from a podcast host that only said cool cover. It didn't describe it.
Oh, that's got to be so frustrating. You know?
Yeah, that's a bummer. I like the idea, Pete, that you wake up every morning and like sort of peel back the layer and look at the cover of your day, and you're like, podcasting, and then closes it, and you're like, then you go about your day. The nature of this story right now is Batman is being the world's worst detective. He's like, Joker, I thought he was wearing makeup this whole time. He's not. I was like, what? Yeah, like Jason Todd shows up.
Jump in like oh my god, yeah.
Well,
that's insane to think. That's insane to think.
He's being the worst detective, except when it comes to Hush, where he's making these logical leaps that I cannot follow at all.
Also, Hush hasn't been in this at all. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's why I don't understand the mechanics of this story. The characters are behaving strangely. I was like, as soon as the gun came into the shot with a red like arm wrap, I was like, that's definitely Jason Todd. He hates Joker because Joker killed him. And then Batman, once it's revealed that it is Jason, he's being such a dick to him. He's like, you're not angry at the Joker. He was the blunt instrument, like the crowbar he hit you with. I was like, hey, man, that's not cool. It's not cool to say to your friend, your sort of son who was murdered by the dude you're protecting. Just like odd behavior across the board. The Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon scene, I was like, she says he's a lot smarter than you. I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's not, those characters don't talk to each other that way. And I don't want to be a hater. And like a little bit, but I gotta say Jim Lee's art, and I'm just gonna say another name, an artist that I also like. It's like Mark Bagley art. It's like Mark Bagley's like, I'm doing art quickly for this comic, and like these panels and the way it's laid out, I feel like this is meant to be such like an art exploration here, and it's just like I feel like it's more like just everyday comic book art.
Oh, dude.
I do.
Come on, bro. You didn't have to do that. I'm not going to stand for this. This art, Jim Lee's art is just, it's so great. It's so fun to be back here with Batman and Jim Lee. And I just think that this is, I'm having fun with this art. I think it's this is a lot going down in this issue. This is super intense. Batman is losing, which nobody likes to see, but this is interesting. And there's a lot of high stakes, a lot of crazy shit going down. And it's fun to see Jim Lee drawing a Batman. I think it's interesting and cool, and makes me feel
the panels.
Young again.
Oh, wow, you're really chasing youth, Pete. You should maybe do some of this biohacking. Get some Blood Boy.
Do you have some sort of Blood Boy? Were you saying Blood Boy?
Get a Blood Boy. Yeah, we're just saying Blood Boy. Who's your Jason Todd who gives you blood?
Where do you get your blood from?
Here's what you do. Find some sort of teen, hit them with a crowbar, take their blood. You'll take a nostalgia bath of their blood.
Oh,
that's a very good use of the term nostalgia bath by using a young person's blood to rejuvenate yourself. I mean, I like some of the panels in here that are the flashbacks and stuff. I feel like are much more artistically interesting.
Yes.
It's more just like the fight sequences and some of the shots of Batman. I'm just like, I don't see I'm not seeing enough, I guess.
This is bad. All right, Star Trek number 31.
Wow, Alex.
IDW, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, art by David Tinto. We are continuing the lore war. Woo, woo, woo. As Cisco is slowly assembling a team to help him take down Lore, who has taken over the universe. Here they go directly for Worf, who is seemingly on Lore's side, but there are some changes and twists throughout here. I am loving this crossover. I know, as I said before with the previous two art parts, I'm very much in the tank for it, but man, I just love the danger. I'm a sucker for this sort of story where it is like, we got to give everybody their memories back. There's some great Tom Paris stuff in this issue in particular, and so much fun having him in the mix, particularly because Cisco and Kales are like two we're very serious warrior characters. And in Beverly Crusher, who could like toss a joke, but she's very sardonic, to have Paris who's like, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy who's doing ridiculous stuff all the time, it's a nice mix.
The genius here is when they first launched this universe, I was like, it's so cool. They brought together like the greatest hits Avengers of the Star Trek universe, and they're all mashed up together to make this great team. Great. And now we're doing the flip where he's building the team by meeting new of these favorites every issue. And every reveal is so fun. The reveal at the end of this comic, I was like,
that's
what
not
the
fun.
Fuck?
That is not fun.
That was that's not fun.
That's crazy.
Messed up. The last page is so insane.
Yes.
But it's great. Like, I love feeling that, where I did that page flip and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Great. I agree.
Excellent. So good.
I still can't believe the fucking blasphemy you said about the last comic. I mean, this is insane. I mean, this guy is a legend in the industry. He's the king of San Diego, and you're going to fucking
You're talking about Worf, right?
You mean
No.
Worf?
No, this is great.
Worf is the king of Space Diego. You know that?
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, I gotta say, Space Diego Comic Con is just not the same since Space COVID.
That's true. It's just not as good. I feel like Space TV, Mojo's taken over. You know.
Anyway, this crossover is great. Let's talk about Out of Alcatraz, number 2 from Odie Press, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Tyler Crook. We are following the apocryphal tale of 3 men who escaped from Alcatraz, and from there we're sort of spinning it off into its own fantasy. I loved how this issue widens out the story in a big way to a larger cast that we got notes of in the first issue, but here it is a lot more about people being prisoners in different ways in different parts of their lives, and whether they can escape those things, whether it's patterns of behavior, whether it's sexuality, whether it's a literal prison that they're escaping from. It's really fascinating, and then you add in this incredible art from Tyler Crook. This is a great comic.
Yeah, I wanted to hype the Tyler Crook art. It's so I love this comic as well. The first issue is such a force when we read it last time, and this continues the story. But the art is just, it gives us a little bit of time period, setting, and the characterization. You know, the people aren't like crazy expressive, but I think it's because that's the sort of prison. They're all in their own internal prisons, like you're saying, Alex. And I thought it was great.
I wasn't going to say anything, but after you guys pissed me off with the last review,
oh no,
I was having a good time, but then when you start hobo choking, then I'm not really, on the.
You don't like hobo choking?
No, I'm against hobo choking.
What?
You know what I mean?
Wow.
You can't just choke out a hobo because you.
So much for our 4th of July plans.
I just think that
I was going to take us through a whole hobo choking theme
park. Yeah, just you know what I mean. Just because
you're hobos are choked. It's just they're animatronic. It's just the fun of choking.
It's still you're encouraging hobo choking with it, Justin. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're on the wrong side of history.
Have you ever been to the Russian hobo choking park? In Russia, hobo choke you.
What was that an accent? Like, what were you even doing there?
I mean, it barely was.
I like what you're thinking, Pete, because you're like, Alex, why would you make that reference there?
Yeah, yeah.
And exactly. I sort of agree with you, but I will say I like the idea of a theme park in Russia, perhaps Moscow, where you lay down underneath an animatronic and it chokes you. It chose you a little bit. I like that as an idea. We've established a mythology. We're professionals. We're building a world here, and in this world,
Alex is broken, and I love it.
Yeah,
he's broken.
Boy.
Hey, we got him.
Anyway, great comic. I hope OD Press appreciated that review. X-Men number 15
great
from
comic.
Marvel, written by Jed McKay, art by Ryan Stegman, CF Vila, JP Meyer, and Livesay. In this issue, the X-Men have found out that a girl that they thought was a mutant was actually not the mutant. In fact, she was a... Oh my God! I was about to say conjoined twin. It was not that. It was
twin.
She seemingly ate her twin in the womb, but that twin survived because its power is to create itself out of flesh over and over again. So we get a big monster attack, and meanwhile, 3K, the villains who have been bubbling in the background, reveal their own X-Men by the end of the issue that are coming for our X-Men. Justin. Jed McKay's your guy, but I think you've been a little wobbly on this title. How are you feeling now?
Well, it's still pretty weird. There's a lot of weird stuff happening here. There's, we have this, like, the twin that it lived absorbs the body of an alien that crashed. There's a lot of, like, Ileana demon stuff. There's a lot of different mutants here who are just sort of, we don't know what exactly their deal is. Then we reveal these people who are like, we're the X-Men. I was like, who are the regular X-Men at first?
Yeah. There's a lot of new characters already, and then the big reveal is more new characters, and then that one, you're like, is that Black Hole Scott? You're like, Black Hole Scott,
won't you come?
Yeah, dude.
Well, and I think these are like the broken mirror versions of the X-Men.
Wash away the rain.
Nice.
This just isn't working for me. I wanted to every issue. I'm like, okay, this is going to be the one because I like Jed McKay and I like X-Men. But like you're getting at, I think here, Justin, we're 15 issues in, and I don't understand these character dynamics at all. These people don't seem to really know each other. There's no interpersonal drama or anything like that happening. They're just a strike force, but every issue, their strike force is like they run out in the snow and then they come back, and then they run out into the snow and they come back, and there's different levels of weird monsters they're fighting in the snow. And I don't know. I want to spend time with them. Like, the best part of this book so far, I think the best issue was the one where they're like, well, we're just hanging out and having a nice dinner with the Avengers. And that was great because we got to see the characters and the character dynamics. I don't get this.
Let's have them play baseball, maybe.
And take one of the characters' name is named Piper, and I just wanted someone to be like, Piper, no!
Yeah.
Pete, what was your favorite episode of The White Lotus, real quick, this past season?
I haven't watched a single episode.
I knew it. Justice League Unlimited number 6 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid and Christopher Cantwell, art by Travis Moore. We're continuing the We Are Yesterday crossover here. Last issue, we met a time-traveling Gorilla Grodd, and this issue, we loop back and show the formation of the new Legion of Doom and how that all comes together. And as expected, there are some time travel twists and shenanigans going on there. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. This is like a ton of fun. There's a lot of cool stuff happening here. And also, like, Grodd is such a great kind of villain. You know what I mean? So I love a good Grodd story. Good feels Grodd. nostalgic to overuse that a little bit here. But yeah, I think it's tons of action, tons of fun, great art. Yeah, I had a blast with this.
I also like this. I liked that this was from Grodd's perspective, and we get to ride with him and the sad fate to our main character, our hero character here, who I like in the all-in crossover and everything. He was such a factor. He was like the young hero whose powers, like, he didn't really understand them, but they came to such good use. He just gets ruined here, and I was like, So there's an emotional quotient to it, I thought. I still don't quite understand the plan. Grodd's plan is he wants to go back in time to get the Legion of Doom from an era where they can then come forward in time. And I'm like, well, why don't you just... They're all still here.
Well,
but the classic, picking on the new guy was such a smart move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't mind the time-traveling Legion of Doom so much because, like Grodd points out, most of them are good guys or mixed at this point or have weird continuities. So I think this is just an opportunity for Mark Waid to be like, we're going to get classic Legion of Doom. Here we go. Now you're going to see it versus this Justice League and see what happens. My only issue right now is we are 2 issues into the 6-part crossover, and it's barely gotten started at this point. I want to get into it. Like, I want to get to whatever it is that is happening, and I think hopefully that'll happen next issue, because I am enjoying it, but we're sure taking our time with the setup. That's all.
I also think that Grodd did such a great job where he's just like, man...
You're so proud
His
of
villains are like so
Grodd.
confusing. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get this. It's like, Grodd, try reading comics, bro. That shit is tough to keep track of, man.
Have you checked out his podcast, the Grodd Pod?
Oh, yeah. I'm a
The Groddcast.
big supporter.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You support it on
support
Patreon?
the Patreon?
Patreon.com/Groddcast.
Yep.
Yeah, and Grodd's like,
Grodd Pod.
Grodd's like, Pete LePage, provocative ambulance.
All right, why don't we move on and talk about the Power Fantasy number 8 from Image Comics, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Casper Wingard. In this issue, we're getting the second part of what happened during the second summer of love. Now from the perspective of our demonic superpower here. Justin, you're a big fan of the series. What'd you think about this one?
Wletus Larson.
Very good.
Hard to take it off.
Let's just weave it in. That's what people want. Literal brain-numbing nonsense is what we're doing. Continues to be excellent. The way that they're able to sort of push the individual arc story forward while still touching on the larger super story. Like, Kieran Gillen is like sort of a polymath with his narratives, where he has so many different tracks running at the same time and is able to modulate between them in such a really impressive way, amazing way. And it lands the story and gives Casper Wingard so much runway to have some just quiet, interesting panels in this issue particularly, especially at the end of the issue, that I thought were great.
Yeah, I mean, artistically, this is really fucking impressive. The coloring, the red washes on some of these panels were just so powerful and cool. This is creepy as fuck and very scary, but it's also impressive, like the character designs. And this is such a cool comic that really creeps me the fuck out. And in case you're just listening, I just wanted to tell you it's a really cool comic that you can't see.
Great. Thanks, Pete. That's what I was asking for. I appreciate you doing exactly.
You should go to your comic book shop and then check it out so you can see what we're talking about.
What a tease. What a tease.
Yeah, I came here to look at this comic, not to buy it, but look at it because Pete LePage told me to. Yeah. X-Force number 10 from Marvel, written by Jeffrey Thorne and Fabian De Souza, art by Marcus Toe and Edgar Salazar. This is the 300th issue celebration of X-Force, and it's also the last issue of this volume of the title. Oh. Yes, it ends here.
Not for good.
I don't know.
I mean,
for
certainly.
Now.
It's all over?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it's all over.
But you know what you can do, Pete, is in the back of this issue, I don't know if you noticed, they have all the covers laid out.
Oh, I didn't notice. It's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Yes,
exactly. So go ahead, go with your cover boner that you have for that.
Oh, man.
And if you could describe every cover.
Push down my boner so I could talk about this a little bit. It's like going back in time.
It didn't take very long to do.
It's like going back in time here. It says, you can be like, oh, I remember where I was when this came out. Oh my God, this is just so fun to kind of look back at all these amazing covers and kind of going back in time and remembering who you were when certain comics came out. I mean, come on.
Remembering who you were, interesting. Let me say, though, I did actually enjoy looking through these covers, and even though I know I was just making fun of Pete, we start at the beginning with like Rob Liefeld. We move into the Jeff Loeb era, which I really enjoyed when the X-Force was on the road. Then it gets into the Mike Allred, where the Ecstatics era for a while, and then the All Sharps era right after that. I was like, this comic has really had a lot of different ideas around it, and so that was cool to see all of them laid out.
The All Sharps one too, like they got some real artistic kind of like almost painted covers in there and stuff.
That was, I'm forgetting who did that, but yeah, that was Rick Remender's run on the title, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
Yep.
Anyway, we are getting two stories in here. The front story is wrapping up Forge's team and everything that's been going on with them. We get the reveal of who Tank was, and it turns out Tank is exactly who we thought he was.
Well, and let me say, the very weird way, because so in this issue they're fighting against who we think is like a Colossus gone bad, and then Tank's like, I want my face back, takes his mask off, and he's Colossus. And I was like, oh, and that Colossus isn't Colossus? I was like,
yeah, that what? Colossus is like, guess I don't have to be Colossus anymore. It's like, what? Why
were you doing that for our sake? Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense. Maybe there was more to it, and they had to abbreviate it to finish up in this last issue. But then we also do get a backup story by Fabian De Souza, who is one of the fathers of X-Force, and he walks through various histories for Cable, and I thought that story was pretty neat.
Yeah, that was
Agree. Cool. I really enjoyed the Cable backup. The front story, like I've liked this Forge-led team. I like the idea that he was sort of being led by something he didn't quite understand, but it felt right. But it wrapped up so quickly in a way where I was like, I don't really know why any of this is happening. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really lay it in too hard. Forge feels like he's betraying the X-Men. We get this character, Moses, who's the big bad guy, and there's clearly like a continuity around him, but I was like, I don't know him. And the comic is like, don't worry, he has some stories here. I was like, well, that's not selling it for me. But I did like the way that Surge's story was resolved. I thought that was well done. So a little bit of a mixed bag, but really enjoyed the Cable backup.
Can you guys guess my favorite moment from the comic?
The covers.
Well, no, it was the when Sasquatch ate a Cyclops. That was my favorite moment from the comic.
That was not Sasquatch. That was like another weird kaiju dude, and that was a Cyclops robot.
Still counts.
Definitely doesn't. All right, why don't we move on and talk about Minor Arcana #6 for Boom Studios. Actually, I had a question I forgot to ask you guys about this. What do you think about this legacy number thing? Because I don't like it.
Wait. You don't like the fact that even though there's weird numbers anymore, it still counts as 300?
Well, first of all, yes. I don't like the fact that
still
it's
300, bro.
That it is issue 10, but also issued 300, I think is a confusing thing to put on a cover. Being like, hey, did you pick up issue 300? Oh, do you mean issue 10? That's weird. The numbers are not different things. But I think it's also like, it would work better for me if there was any sort of consistent team and they weren't often going over like multiple different titles to make these numbers so that they could have an anniversary issue. I'm all for a celebration, but the idea that like, wow, this is the 300th issue of the continuous story of X-Force is not true. That is unequivocally not true at all. It's not exactly the same thing, but it would be like if I added my age to my father's age and my grandfather's age. It was like, time for my 250th birthday. Let's go.
Yeah, I think we should do that
tells
stuff.
The Zalbin storyline a little bit, but listen, this is number 300. And
I like the Zalbin Sharps era the most. When all the Zalbins just had knives.
Was it Assad Ribish that did the cover?
Hey, good. I think you're right. Yes.
For my Sharps era.
Yeah, no, we know what you're talking about. I hear what you're saying, you nerd, but I do think that like the fact that it has done 300 issues is worth celebrating. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm glad that we got the 300 celebration in there.
I guess I don't know. Here's what I would rather have. And it's fine. This is like very much tilting in windmills because we have moved on with the comic book industry. So I'm not actually upset about this or anything, but I would rather have like celebrate 25th issue, celebrate 50th issue, celebrate whatever issue you've made it into your run. Alternately, if you want to celebrate like the 50th anniversary of X-Force, or like coming up, they're doing the same thing with Moon Knight, where Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu number 10, I think, is issue number 250, but also celebrating the 50th anniversary of Moon Knight. Just put out a 50th anniversary Moon Knight special. Like, I think the sales reason is we're not going to sell as many copies of that as Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu number 10. So let's just jam it all into the same thing so we get more sales there. But, like, as a reader, it's just too many numbers and things going on at the same time.
Well, I think I will contradict you a little bit and say,
sure.
I agree with you. The 10 and then LGY number 300 on the cover is confusing. I think they should commit to the 300 and then put a like sort of AKA current run 10 or whatever the best, cleanest version of that is. And I don't mind that because I do like to celebrate. And I think it's worth getting the Cable back up here to have the legacy on the front end. And also it's like, how many people, maybe some people are buying this 300 be like, oh, I love X-Force. Let me just check this out. They would be absolutely lost in the front half of this story. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that they would know about happening. I'm an active reader, and I'm like barely understanding what's happening. So I don't know. It feels like an excuse to get more creators making stuff, making backups, and I'm all for that.
All right. Fair enough. Oh, let's move on and talk about Minor Arcana number 6 from Boom Studios by Jeff Lemire. In this issue, our main character is continuing to explore her tarot powers with a small boy. Tarot powers. This book is beautiful to look at and great to read, and I enjoy it more every issue.
Yeah, it is. It is great. It's very stylish, artistically, got an interesting tone. This has got cool characters. Yeah, I think, I enjoy this very much.
What I like about this is when we first started reading this, I was like, oh, our main character is so mad all the time. It's sort of a bummer. And it felt like harder to read in those first couple issues, but we've seen her soften every issue. We see her powers are growing in the same way as she accepts them more and gets more ensconced in her small town lifestyle from back in the day. And Jeff Lemire is just a sort of master, and he's moving the story forward as he wants to meticulously. And I guess we trust him. I should have trusted him from the beginning.
Would it be weird if you guys, you're sitting there with your kids and then this kind of friend walked over and you were like, oh, yeah, just go hang out with my kid. And then they had this crazy tripped out experience together? Would that be weird for you guys? Or
like a babysitter? You mean?
I'm talking about how
I encourage my babysitters
was then
to take
alone
them on a
with
trip.
Somebody else's kid, and then they were both experiencing some crazy shit together. You know what I mean?
Hey, childcare's hard.
Yeah. Whenever I have a babysitter, I tell them no acid with the kids after 8.
Oh, wow.
Because otherwise it's impossible to get them to bed.
I try to get an understanding of my babysitter's power sets. If they're sort of a pyrotechnic, I'm like, hey, cool it. But if they're sort of some sort of Zatanna type character, I'm like, yeah, do a little magic.
If you go to sitters.com, they actually have a thing now where they send you the trading card in advance so you can see all the power levels for your babysitter before you hire them.
Oh, that's
wow, Mandy, a lot of stamina. Great, you're going to be a great sitter. See you at 11.
11?
11?
11 p.m.
Just going out at 11?
Yeah.
No, see you at 11. I'll be back at 11.
Oh, okay. Not like she has to get there
at 11
p.m.
Yeah, I was like, man,
at that point the kids are already asleep. You could just leave.
Yeah.
That's a controversial statement, Alex. It would be sick if that was true.
I mean, let's not talk about it too much. We have too many other comics to talk about. The Infinity Watch #4 from Marvel, written by Derek Landy, art by Eddy Balam and Rory Coleman. We have been following the Infinity Watch blasted into an alternate world created by Star. However, in this issue, they sort of start to bring things back and face their real enemy. I think we're pretty high on the last 2 issues of this book. Justin, how did you feel it turned out in this issue #4?
This also was a little confusing on the front end of the comic, but I liked where it ended up, and I sort of like this team in this villain they've created here. I was sort of into him. He's a little. I like. Really? There's a line where he gets the powers back, and he's like, "Wow, the first thing he did with unlimited power was give himself bigger muscles and a haircut." I was like, "There's not a lot of books that would be telling this story with characters we don't really know too much about, with not a lot of continuity, and they just throw a straight up roast in out of the gate as their villain is establishing himself." But I mean, this comic is just like a woolly, strange comic, but I will say I have been enjoying it, even though it's a little confusing.
Woolly, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like the creepy line that was like, "I only kept the people alive for the ones who worshipped me." I was like, oh, goddamn. Great art, great action.
It's the same with you and ants, Pete.
Wait, leave my dead ants out of this. Oh no. What have I done? Yeah, I think this is great art. Interesting. I'm a little confused by what's happening, but I'm gonna keep reading.
Yeah, Star is the clearest character in here by far. She's the one who says the line about the muscles of the hair. She has a lot of other good quips here. Derek Landy seems to have a really good handle on her. The rest of the characters, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you any of their names. I think the straw guy is named Ajax, but that's all I remember. And Phil Coulson, I do know the name of. But, they're all mushy. You said bully, and I think that's a good way of putting it as well. I want to like this title because I really did enjoy the alternate reality stuff that went on. But now we're back to them all kind of standing around, even though there is a fun bit where the villain who is narrating is like, "Oh, time for the superhero pose," which, funny. There's some good jokes in here. I just wanted to cohere a little bit better. Green Lantern Dark, #4 from DC Comics, written by Tate Brombal, art by Werther Deladera. In this issue, we're headed to a new town with a new challenge for our Green Lantern and her slowly growing crew of heroes. I love this book.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. I think the fairy tale tone that they've been putting throughout here is excellent. The art by Werther Deladera is gorgeous. And I just like the idea. I mean, I like the map at the front, but I like the idea that, it's almost video game style. It feels like they're going to a different town, completing these different missions, and slowly illuminating the map for your video game.
Yeah, it has fun. Final Fantasy notes to it. It's just so hard something is killing the children that just keeps taking each newer film like, oh, that's sort of the same thing that happens over there. So that takes me out of it a little bit. But I agree with you. The expanding aperture of getting more heroes in here is making me enjoy it more.
I mean, this is worth it for the art alone. I mean, this is just beautiful, beautiful art. Love it. Cool story. Last Animal was creepy as fuck, but artistically, this is just absolutely glorious.
Archaic, #5 from Bohoi Comics, written by Melissa F. Olson, art by Sally Cantorino. This is the final issue of this title about a family that has moved to a weird island filled with mystical creatures. They are being plagued by a mysterious entity who is trying to kill them, and it all starts to wrap up here. I know we've been generally enjoying the series, but how did you feel about how it wrapped up?
It felt a little fast to me. Mm-hmm. You guys? I felt like we were still expanding so much in the previous issue. I guess we got a lot of the journal reveal and stuff, but I felt like we were going to get more story.
Do you know what I think it was we didn't spend enough time with the family or the actual situation. I really love the setup here. I think the art is great. It seems like a world where there's so much to explore, and it's certainly open-ended at the end where we could get a sequel series here. But like you're saying, it felt like a rush to explain the island and the situation, introduce a villain, wrap up the villain, and in the process, we lost where it started, which was a mother trying to protect her family and then thrust into the weirdest situation possible. It got a little overcomplicated with other details when we should have had that emotional base of the family.
Yeah, but I do think there's something to be said where, like, when a comic finishes and we feel robbed, you know what I mean? So I feel like it is good in that way where we want more, you know, but
wow,
I understand
Pete coming out
saying.
pro-robbery. Interesting.
And, but yeah, I love the art here. I'm going to miss the face chest guy and the face line guy. And yeah, there's some fun chase sequences here in the last ish, but yeah, sad to see this go.
You know what it might be? I think this happens with a lot of, I don't know if this is a first story, but a lot of like those first stories, first movie, first TV show, wherever, where you just throw all the details in because you don't know if you're ever going to get that chance again. And that's kind of what this felt like. I hope this was successful, and I hope we get more because I would love to return to this world. Yeah, and I think if we do, we would get something that does take its time a little bit more and does get into those character dynamics. But we'll see. Still, a good series, well worth checking out. Universal Monsters, The Mummy, #2 from Skybound and Image Comics by Faith Erin Hicks. This is a revamp and different take on the classic Universal Monsters Mummy movie. Here we jump forward in time where our main character is now grown up and encountering the mummy. And I gotta say, right at the beginning, I was a little bummed about that because I loved the YA tone of the first issue. I thought there were so many interesting things going on. But once I got past that, this is another great issue of this title, gorgeously drawn.
Yeah, I like that it's moving quickly. I really liked the sort of 3-page bit we get at the end of the issue. I thought was really well done. It reminded me a lot. There's this song called "The Mummy" by Josh Ritter. If anyone's a fan, I've heard of him. That really I was reminded of while reading this comic. And I know that's a little obvious because it's also the name of the comic. But
yeah, you know what this reminded me of is the movie The Mummy.
Huh. Weird. I wouldn't have put those together. Yeah, I think this is great. I also like the kind of twists and turns that are happening here, and some characters I don't trust yet. But yeah, great art, interesting story. Really look forward to what goes on next.
Yeah, and
so the song is not The Mummy; it's called The Curse. The Curse.
Okay, all right.
I guess that makes it better.
I just wanted to say I like how this is recontextualizing the movie and the events of the movie around Heather's experiences, which ultimately changes the entire story and the perspective. So very well done. Magic #4 from Marvel, written by Ashley Allen, art by German Peralta. In this issue, Magic is teaming up with Danny Moonstar to fight some demons in the woods as Liminal, the villain that she's been fighting back against, is closing in on her and wants to open up another seal so he can escape his prison. I think we've been loving this series so far. Yeah. Do you think that, Justin, did that keep up in issue 4?
I really like the relationship that we explore here between Danny and Magic. Yeah. It was a little bit. There's just a lot of like, well, are you sure Darkchild's not going to take control of you? And she's like, she's not. But it gets a little repetitive. That was my only criticism. But I'm enjoying this series across the board. I like the areas it's exploring. I like that we touch on her past a lot here, but still keeping the demonic tone going forward.
Yeah, I agree. This is a blast. I could not believe the hot tea that is spilled in this issue. You know, she was like, oh, man, I hope she never finds out. Next panel revealed she was listening the whole time. Oh, just soul crushing. Yeah. You can see why she wants to be part demon. You know, it is just so hard being a human. You know, they're so gossipy and so full of shit. So, man, alive. Yeah, some interesting. I'm excited to see what happens next.
This was actually the comic that I was thinking about. I'm such a sucker for done-in-one issues because what this is doing so successfully is we had this cliffhanger that Daddy Moonstar shows up at the end of the last issue, but we don't exactly pick up there. We jump ahead to them in the middle of a situation, and that's what the issue is about, is ultimately dealing with that situation until we reach the end. And that's great. Like, I really feel like that gets me at least 50% of the way there to be like, as a writer, they have thought about, I am approaching this comic book and what am I saying in these 22 pages, however many I'm given. So that's good. Good stuff. Peacemaker presents the Vigilante Eagerly double feature number 2 from DC Comics, written by Tim Seeley and Rex Ogle, art by Mitch Gerads and Matteo Loli. In the front story, Vigilante erroneously thinks that Peacemaker has been kidnapped by a guy named the Controller, but keeps breaking up crime rings in the most violent way possible anyway. And on the backup story, Peacemaker actually has been kidnapped, but it turns out it's by the League of Assassins, and he's in the woods with a bunch of other folks. Pete, you seem excited about this one, so why don't you take it first?
Yeah, this is just silly fun, great art, kind of classic Peacemaker fare here. If you like the show, you will very much enjoy this. I really enjoyed the flash ring bit. That was cool. But yeah, this is just kind of over the top, just like the TV show was, and I think in a fun way.
I love the Mitch Gerads art in the first one, the first story, and Tim Seeley, our guy, bringing us the Vigilante story. But I do think the Rex Ogle story in the back I thought was a little bit more in the sort of flavor I'm looking for here, just from my own personal preference of just having a little bit more fun as opposed to just straight up murder.
Fair enough. The Last Boy, number 2 for Boom Studios, written by Dan Panosian, art by Dan Panosian and Alessio Avallone. This is telling a story in 2 timelines, maybe. One, we're following Wendy Darling, who wants to write a book, presumably Peter Pan. And in the other storyline, we're following Peter Pan, who is finding out that the world has kind of grown up around him up until somebody named the Phantom King absolutely wrecks him at the end of the issue.
Man.
I think we were a little confused, if I remember correctly, about the first issue, even though we liked Alice Ever After by Dan Panosian, so we're curious to see where this is going. If I remember, that was kind of the thrust of the conversation. Do you feel like it is clearer now in issue 2?
Well, I think the first issue felt like it was being aggressively dark and like life, growing up, all of that. And it felt a little bit pushing the theme. This one pulls back a little bit and lets us sort of watch it happen. And we get to see Peter confront something. You know, he's exclusively won in every one of his fights, basically, throughout his entire life as Peter Pan. So, like, this is like a real growing up moment, I think we get at the end of the issue. And I liked the way that was told.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of a more intense kind of telling of the tale that we know very well, but I think it's done interestingly and in a kind of a cool way. So yeah, I'm in. I want to see kind of how this all goes down, and Peter's not looking good by the end.
A lot of this is going to depend on how these two halves of the story come together, and if they do for me, because I like them both, but I'm not quite sure as of now how they connect at all. But very well drawn, good characterization. We shall see. Sabretooth, The Dead Don't Talk, number 5 from Marvel, written by Frank Thierry, art by Michael Stamaria. This is telling a story of Sabretooth back in the day, basically Gangs of New York style. And as we've been joking about all along, this is a story being told to Wolverine in a bar. And we do, in fact, loop back to that by the end of this issue. Justin?
It just made me laugh. Yes, Justin? I mean, we talked about how so much of the story was like Sabretooth having sex with the woman he loves who is killed by the crocodilian. And just imagining Wolverine being like, okay, man, what? Why are you telling me this? In a bar? During the day? It's daylight. Why are you talking about all this sex? And then to have it come back to Wolverine, it was like, okay, well, I got to get on my motorcycle, get out of here. It was very funny to me. And we get a reveal at the end. I was like, oh, Frank really pushing a character that I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was funny just to talk about that last scene with Wolverine. I thought it was funny what a bad liar Wolverine was, because he was like, well, when me and Sabretooth, I mean, whoever you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, play it a little cooler, buddy. Come on.
Bub?
Pete?
Yeah, I thought this was just fun. I like the Conchu stuff. The Crocman powers is cool. Great art and action.
The Crocodilian you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I want to call him a lot of different things, but this Crocodilian I feel like is
You want to call him a lot of different things? Like what?
Yeah, I want to call him Killer Croc.
Like friend? Like pal?
Or I want to call him the Croc from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I'm blanking on right now. But it all comes down to the, Wolverine and Sabretooth. So let's get it already. You know what I mean?
This is the last issue, Pete. We're not going to get that.
Also, man, next issue, though, you know what I mean?
Sabretooth is also dead. That was literally the whole point of the series.
But also, if you want to see them fight, they fight in almost every issue. So you can see that.
Yeah. You can flip through. Yeah, I bet you could turn around right now and randomly grab a comic book and Sabretooth would be fighting Wolverine.
Yeah, they fight a lot. And I believe Leatherhead is the name of the...
yes, thank you. Leatherhead.
He came with a chainsaw, I think, when he was...
Of course he did.
That seems unnecessary. When you're already a crocodile, you don't also need a... Yeah.
Well, maybe your teeth get tired, You want
Nature's chainsaw.
Teeth get
your
tired.
Teeth get tired?
They're famous.
Good night, teeth. I tuck my teeth in every night.
Individually, right?
Yeah, exactly. Give him a little kiss on the face, on the enamel.
Well, it sounds like your teeth are not afraid when they go to sleep, and that's night. But those not afraid, from Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah, these teeth are afraid because they're getting knocked out by a hammer in this comic.
Yeah.
Woo! Written by Kyle Starks, art by Patrick Piazzalunga. This is following a contest between two serial killers to break the kill count in their town, which has accidentally been spurred on by a local true crime podcaster. And into the mix, this issue enters not one, but two other serial killers. Man, I love how this is taking a relatively simple, very dark premise and blowing it out in absolutely wild ways. That 100% have been set up very well from the beginning of the series and are paying off very nicely towards the end.
Yeah, the heightening and the payoff of this is really great. And it's like, this is the fourth issue. It's like brought out in such a nice, the timing is excellent. The violence is great. The art isn't glorifying it and making it too real. It's just keeping it nice because they're all very much like, here, I'm getting my numbers up, bang, bang, bang. Or like, here comes my hammer into someone's face.
Here comes my
like having the right tone and something like this, very good.
Yeah, it is impressive. This is creepy as fuck and also kind of weird and comical in a way, but it's impressive, the twists and turns and the way it keeps kind of dialing it up. So this is really impressive, even though it's horribly violent.
Deadpool Wolverine, number 4 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Joshua Cassara. Strife is back, but why is he back, and how is he back, and is this Strife? Maybe not. We find out a lot of the answers to that in this. I mean, it is Strife, but like maybe it's not exactly the same Strife that we've known before or anything like that.
He's definitely doing a strange healing technique.
He's doing a healing technique. I think also because of the classic like Strife cable time travel thing. Maybe this is Strife from a different part of the time stream or something that I'm not quite getting. Anyway, he has brainwashed Deadpool, but Deadpool has been broken of his brainwashing. Guess what happens by the end of the issue? Meanwhile, the whole plot of this is based around Strife really needs his sharp little hat.
Yes, and the cover portrays Strife reaching up into the air as a helmet is slowly lowering towards his grasp.
It's a sharp hat.
And we have Wolverine and Deadpool in the background who are shaking from maybe rage or violence that they want to do onto Strife. So it's a really impressive cover that's capturing a lot of things happening all at once.
You're making fun, Pete, but I actually enjoyed that exploration of the cover that you just did.
Me too.
Oh, wow.
That was really nice.
We got a cool team up here of Deadpool, Wolverine. They're taking out zombies, and there's some fun twists and turns. But man, Strife, you know what I'm saying?
Strife has a machine that fixes him by jamming spikes like an inch or two into his neck and head. I was like, bro, do something different. Make those spikes smaller, I would say. Just from a medical point of view. It is funny that it's all about his hat, and because his hat, I would call it even a headdress. It's very intense. It was designed at a time. There's no reason it needs...
had that, or is that new for this comic?
No, he's always had
he's always had that hat, but like, has his hat always been the source of his powers? Like a reverse Magneto helmet?
They're making it like it's like a satellite dish almost, and that tracks because the hat's nonsense. So I get that it's like a big metal antenna or whatever, but like that was definitely not the source of his powers. It's just like how he dressed, because Rob Liefeld was like, more spikes, please. But the use of Maverick in this comic and sort of all Wolverine comics, I'm like, just make it Wolverine. Can't we just have Wolverine be the star? Like, Wolverine sort of like does a little bit here, but
what does Maverick do? I mean, I know I should know
nothing. He's a catch-all. He's like a Wolverine light, and I'm just like, with guns instead of claws. I'm like, just let me have Wolverine do this stuff.
Right. And he just basically has Strife's helmet, but without the wings, and it goes lower on his head. It's the same.
Yeah, no wings. He has hair.
Easy.
Oh, I'm sorry to insult Maverick, your favorite character.
Maverick's hat.
Oh, I thought you were insulting Wolverine's hat.
No. Never.
But Wolverine also has a weird hat. His is like a hair holder.
It's a hood.
Who do you think has the weirdest hat in Marvel? Strife's definitely up there.
I mean, the answer is probably Galactus, because I'm like, you should not have that. You don't even need a hat. You're a god.
No, Peacemaker's hat's pretty ridiculous, but that's DC.
Yeah, but that's DC, yes. I was going to say another one, but I forgot who it was. So why don't we talk about Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Brian Hitch. This is the final issue of this delayed Black Label series where Lex Luthor is destined to die. Superman has now lost his powers, and it turns out to all be a plot by Brainiac, which they managed to unravel by the end of this issue. What do you guys think about this belated conclusion?
Well, man, I can't wait to read the next issue. You know what I mean? It's going to be cool when this all wraps up.
Wolverine finally fights Sabretooth for the first time.
That's great. No, I thought this was cool. Part of me was disappointed when Lex got the powers, but it was cool, the kind of turn that happened later. But I thought this was a really interesting idea and well executed, and I'm glad they made this comic and explored it.
Pete, you use the term twists and turns a lot to describe comics
sure do.
That you enjoy. And I think this comic actually had some really surprising twists and turns. We get a couple turnabouts here between Superman
Are you saying that when I say twists and turns, there's not always twists and turns?
There's not always twists and turns. There's not always twists and
I specifically say that when there is.
Sometimes you're just talking about plot points, let's be honest.
Yeah, you're talking about...
still twists.
Character
I wouldn't call it a twist. A twist is a surprise.
It's a reveal. That's a twist.
When you sit down and you eat your dinner that just came out of the oven, you're like, twist, it's chicken.
Well, the twist is it good or not? You know what I mean? Because
that's also not a twist. That's a answer. That's a consequence, maybe. Would you sit down and be like, twist, the chicken's cooked?
I'm a little generous with twists and turns. All right, fine.
But this comic does have a lot of them. I enjoyed the way this issue ran out at the very end, especially.
I think the second issue of the series was strongest, where it was Superman just taking Lex Luthor around trying to cure him. I thought that was really nicely done. But like you guys are saying, I thought this was a great conclusion anyway. Gorgeous art by Brian Hitch. I don't care that it was belated. Give him as much time as he needs to finish the thing he needs, because this is definitely Mark Waid writing to his strengths, which is his core principles about Superman and Lex Luthor is something he has clearly thought about nearly every day of his life. And then filtering that through, I have Brian Hitch on art, so let me just really blow out the action here. So good stuff all around.
I also really like that line where when Lex was like, "Don't tell anyone." I thought that was pretty funny.
It's good.
Yeah, or sad, either way. Emotions, they're interchangeable. They're twists, they're turns every day of your life. And that is it for the stack. If you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Coming out, we would love to chat with you about comic books. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
To the trees, Pete! There's a predator right behind you.
That's a twist.
That's a turn.
That blows your mind.